Please join me in welcoming Sheriff Errol Toulon.
Wow. Usually, I know as a keynote speaker, if you speak before lunch or before the meal, you're going to get a lot of grumbling from the audience. And if you speak afterward, everybody's a little tired. So I know I'm going to make this short, but I do have a message I do want to deliver that I hope everybody gets. And thank you, Leslie, for the introduction. I also like to thank Florence Joyner and the Suffolk County from Martin Luther King Commission for inviting me here today to actually speak. As we remember Dr. Martin Luther King on what would have been his 90th birthday. Before I begin, I would also like to acknowledge Letitia James, our newly elected New York State Attorney General, for being here today. I'm going to tell you first here, she is a rising star in our country, not our state. And I know that she's going to be the best Attorney General that New York State has ever had. Thank you. It has been a little more than 5 decades since Dr. King was tragically assassinated. But what he left behind was an impression on the world, a profound impression of a life lived with a purpose, dreams of endless possibilities for humanity, and the hopes that he described for us so eloquently. He dreamed that every man, woman, and child on this earth would someday realize their own potential through activism and social change. Like many Americans, when I reflect on the legacy of Dr. King, I tend to think of the parallels between his message and my own experience growing up in the 60s and 70s in the South Bronx. I just gave my age away. I was 5 years old when he died, but I remember vividly watching it all unfold on television, and especially my mother, weeping as my father tried to console her. Over the years, we talked about Dr. King, his beliefs, and how he was the catalyst for many influential African American and civil rights leaders in our time. I realized I would not be in the position I am in today if it was not for him. He and my father taught me to stand up for what I believe in, no matter what the repercussions were. I was only a year old when Dr. King was in prison for leading protests against the treatment of Black Americans and his famous letter that he wrote in a Birmingham jail. A few months later, he led the March on Washington and delivered the greatest speech ever written, "I Have a Dream." He said, "Now is the time," and he emphasized now, is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. Dr. King also spoke about integrity. He said, "Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom, but by drinking the cup of bitterness and hatred." He reminded the nation and all seeking justice that we must forever conduct our struggle on a high plane of dignity and discipline. These words resonate throughout my life and my journey. I learned through Dr. King that doing the right thing may not always be the popular decision that some want. But I can go to sleep at night knowing that I made the best choice for organizations or people that I was working with at the time. And although I never received death threats like Dr. King, my reluctance to do immoral things that would compromise my integrity once cost me a high-profile position. And I believe my race was a factor. This unfortunate circumstance didn't occur 10 or even 20 years ago, but 2 years ago. But Dr. King taught me to plant my feet firmly and to be steadfast in my beliefs, and in the end, everything will work out. And it did. I stand before you as the 67th Sheriff of Suffolk County. I grew up knowing that I was fortunate to have parents who were involved and who showed me and my brother that anything was possible. They instilled in us the discipline and values to succeed in life. I also developed great friendships with people of all races, whether it was in high school, college, in my career, and in my community. But it wasn't easy getting to this place, to this position of Suffolk County Sheriff. My election woke people up in Suffolk County, Because in the beginning I was asked, why did you enter the race so late? I was told, you have no name recognition. I was also told, you have 53 days to campaign. And I was told Suffolk County was not ready for a black sheriff. And after I was declared the winner, I thought it was very ironic that my opponent congratulated me on the 62nd anniversary of the day that Rosa Parks decided not to give up her seat on that bus in Montgomery, Alabama. So I guess we showed them. Prejudice can sometimes complicate politics, but surviving one's own confrontation with death provides a unique perspective of the values, blessings, and possibilities of life. As a two-time cancer survivor who has battled both Hodgkin's lymphoma and pancreatic cancer, I was no stranger to suffering or feeling confined. I know all too well the pains and realization of one's own mortality with a failing body. And working on Rikers Island for 25 years, starting my career as a correction officer in 1982 and completing it as a deputy commissioner, I have walked down many countless cell blocks filled with some of life's most tragic examples of human suffering. I saw so many of our Black and Latino brothers and sisters cycle in and out of jails and prisons, many from distressed neighborhoods and struggling households, where they often lack good role models. And that is true here in Suffolk County as well. While 8% of the school-age population in Suffolk County is African American, young Black men comprise approximately 38% of the inmates housed 17 to 24 in the county jail. It is a fact that 2019, 5 decades after Dr. King wrote his letter from the Birmingham jail, that minorities are still disproportionately affected by crime and incarceration, as well as poverty. African Americans are incarcerated at 5 times more the rate than whites. This is truly the civil rights fight of our time. And if MLK were alive today, I believe he would have reminded us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. My goal of changing the landscape of jails in Suffolk County and eventually across this nation is my fight, the way racial inequality was to Dr. King's. In June of 2018, I joined with many others in calling for prison reform and the passage of the First Step Act in Congress. And I have been very vocal about ending the school-to-prison pipeline for children of all races and genders. In 2018, I convened a task force with Assemblywoman Kimberly Jean-Pierre to study this issue. The initiative that we call in the Suffolk County Jail is called Deconstructing the Prison Pipeline, because we just can't say we're going to stop the pipeline of youth entering the justice system. We need to deconstruct it piece by piece by getting to the root of the problem and by applying practical solutions to keep kids out of trouble. Justice-involved youth are often kids who have been exposed to trauma, violence, and homelessness. Many of these young people have educational deficits and mental health issues, and family members who have been incarcerated. These are complicated social issues, but our youth and our young people deserve better. Deconstructing the prison pipeline will require that we find better ways to deliver human services to people in need and develop more appropriate pathways for young people to disengage from the law of gangs. We also need to look closely at how young Black and Hispanic males are disciplined in school, and if higher rates of out-of-school suspensions is a factor leading to a racial disproportionality in jails and prisons. All children need role models and mentors, and this is why I have partnered with Mentor New York on this project, as well as the Long Island Health and Welfare Council. And as I close, as the new sheriff in town, I have a message for our youth, especially our young men, because I have a dream. I have a dream that one day you'll walk into your home, hug your parents and guardians, and thank them for the sacrifices that they have made. I have a dream you will realize that you're not entitled to anything because you haven't worked for anything. I have a dream that you will put down your Xbox and your PlayStation and read a book. I have a dream that you will stop texting every once in a while and actually talk to your friends and family. I have a dream you will always feel safe when you go to school and know that you can talk to someone if you need help. And I have a dream that you will always feel protected and loved when you feel things are not going your way. That is my dream. Again, I would like to thank the Suffolk County Martin Luther King Jr. Commission for inviting me here today to speak. God bless all of you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Sheriff Toulon. A wise man who looks good in a uniform